Thanks for joining media to postgame press conference. Tonight, we're going to hear from head coach Derek Fisher, Candace Parker, Chelsea Gray, and Britney Sykes. We'll get started with Adam Grossbard, LA Daily News.
Hey, Derek. First off, just is there any update on Raquana? And then how did Candace's basket there at the end of regulation help the team kind of wake up for overtime?
First question, not a real update of any kind. She's being evaluated tonight, and so we'll either learn more tonight or maybe first thing tomorrow morning, and then we'll go from there. That's kind of all we have at the moment. She left in good spirits to go get an MRI and get everything checked out. So we'll have more information for you as soon as we get it. And then the second question, I don't think it was just Candace scoring the basket, but also I think the level of defense that we were forced to play to end the fourth quarter and then to win the game in overtime. I think that's what really brought the group together and kind of woke them up, as you're saying. We had to get some stops kind of late in that fourth quarter in order to even have a chance to get the game to overtime. And then in overtime, of course, we put together a great series of defensive possessions that, they all should be proud of. And that's usually what it takes in order to win. And I'm glad we got a chance to have this kind of experience in a game like this tonight.
Sukni New and LA Times.
Two questions also. Speaking to Raquana, do you know if she's going to get an MRI or an X-ray or anything like that? And then for Candace creating energy, especially on defense, how big was her just drawing that charge there?
We're definitely going to give Raquana an MRI as soon as possible, and make sure that we know exactly what is or isn't going on. And like I said, as soon as we get something back that we can share, between Eli and Michael and myself, we'll get that information to you, as soon as possible. What Candace is doing defensively this year cannot go, unseen, unnoticed, and we can't not talk about it anymore. She's been phenomenal on the defensive end, what she's doing in terms of rebounding, shot blocking, talking, communicating, really just trying to, provide a level of energy and passion on that end of the floor. Her teammates need that from her, and there's been a ton of possessions this season where she's providing it. And she was a catalyst for us defensively late in that fourth quarter and in overtime. That's the difference between winning and losing. And when your best players are leading by example, when it comes to those things, it lifts everybody else up to another level.
Pavy, H&B Media.
Hey, Coach. You kind of spoke about it, actually, but I know, you may not give too much consideration to, awards, but, I mean, as far as Candace and, what she's been doing defensively, have you given some thought to her possibly winning Defensive Player of the Year?
I started thinking about it earlier tonight, actually, as we were preparing for this game and, looking at some things from a statistical perspective and analytical things that, we look at as we're preparing. Where she is, again, with the rebounding and, her defensive rating, the way she's blocking shots, changing shots, and just doing a lot of things to make a difference for us out there. She's definitely one of the reasons why, we're in the upper echelon of defensive teams in terms of rating this season. And, I think she at least deserves to be in the conversation. But we have to sustain our effort as a team, and, she'll have to continue to sustain her effort individually.
Chris Camello.
Coach, impressive win yet again. Last game you talked about how Phoenix was able to come back and how that experience would be positive because you could have more situations like that as the season goes on and then potentially in the playoffs. Where did this game kind of fall into that kind of like experience that you guys hope to have, moving forward?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, honestly, I think it kind of one-ups the Phoenix game because we found ourselves behind all of a sudden in this game. And, we had to find a way to come back and win after being ahead. The blowout games are, they're more rare than you think in professional sports. We ran off a few, and it's easy to think that that's how it's going to go every time. And the last couple games, that's more like what professional sports is about. Like, it's a competition. There are major momentum swings that happen throughout the course of a game. And, we feel like for our team, this type of adversity strengthens us and makes us better. It forces us to dig deeper. It forces us to commit more and be even more disciplined sometimes than we have sometimes the pleasure of being not as disciplined because of the talent. And when you find yourself in situations where you have to be disciplined in order to get the job done, we're able to rise to that challenge. And part of it is to develop the ability to do that as consistently as possible so you don't find yourself in these situations. But in the biggest games and the biggest moments, everything that we had to do tonight to win, we're going to have to do it to win then. And so you're better off having the experience of it.
Last question for Coach John W. Davis.
Hey, Coach. So I wanted to ask you about Britney Sykes and TRP. TRP didn't score a bucket. Britney Sykes was playing with 5 fouls, but it seemed like they were really able to make a difference along with Candace and everybody else who was on the court. But those two in particular seemed like they were really able to make a difference on the perimeter. What did you see from that duo?
Just a tenacity, a toughness, accepting the challenge of, like, literally, I'm not going to let her score. There's a pride in that type of performance that, again, it's important for teammates to see. Somebody has to take the lead in that regard. And everybody can't lead offensively, statistically, points per game, etc. That's not what everybody's needed to do in a particular season. Obviously we're LA, where, it's Hollywood is where they make shows and films, etc. And the greatest movies, films, shows, theater, plays, like, everybody has a role to play. And there are times where the person with less lines than somebody else, they made the whole movie go because of the role that they played that you remember. It stood out to you because you can feel the passion in it. You can feel the commitment to what they were saying and doing. And to me, that's what's Britney and TRP. And when players defensively make that kind of effort, knowing that they're not going to get any credit for necessarily, on the stat sheet, that's a deeper level of commitment that everybody's not made to put out. And we're glad to have both of those players on our side.
Thank you, Coach. Congrats.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll get started. Adam Grossbard, LA Daily News.
Hey, Chelsea. Looks like you really got going there in overtime. Like, how much of a lift was it, just that last bucket from Candace to kind of get the team going there those last 5 minutes?
Yeah, we don't have an overtime without that bucket. It was clutch. Coach drew up a great play to give her some space. All she had to do was finish it and put it in the rack. And we had confidence in her to do that. And she went right by her and finished it.
Tiffany New in LA Times.
Speaking to Candace, what's impressed you the most about the way she's played defensively this year? And also, how big was her just drawing that charge in overtime?
Yeah, I always joke with her. I call her year 13 sometimes. She's doing stuff, in her 13th year. That's the Candace in year 2 maybe. But coming down the stretch, she was clutch on both ends of the floor, and that charge was huge. Not only it gave us a chance to come back on offense, but it's a momentum thing. And when she was able to draw that, like that was the turning point. And I'm just glad we got it done. And she was a presence on both ends of the floor, getting deflections, making it difficult for them to shoot over her. Even Courtney Williams shot towards the top of the key. She had to shoot it over length. Any closer, she might have fouled her. So I'm just glad we got the win.
Chris Camello.
Hey, Chelsea, great win tonight. I talked to Coach. How important is it to have these types of games, even going back to the Phoenix games, where these games kind of get tight? It kind of tests you guys a little bit. How important is that, especially moving forward as you guys get closer to the playoffs?
After the game, I brought the group together, and I was just like, "That's a playoff type of vibe that we're going to have. That's a playoff experience that we're going to need to be able to pull out wins. You know, it doesn't say on the win and loss column like you win by 2 or you win by 30. We just got to get those wins, and that's the kind of play we were having in that overtime, and that's the feeling that we kind of had. And to be able to execute down the stretch, we had a couple of turnovers, so being able to do that was important.
Last question, John W. Davis.
Hi, Chelsea. When Britney and TRP are out there locking up, what does that do to get you going defensively as well?
When who? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
When Britney Sykes and TRP are out there locking up, what does that get you going? How does that get you going on defense?
It's huge. You know, they were able to get deflections, making them take tough shots. They were in the right place at the right time, making them go to their third and fourth option. And that's what we want. That's what we want all game. And they were clutch in overtime towards the end of the fourth. We're going to need those types of plays to get it done in the long run.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Questions for Britney Sykes. We'll start with David Yapkowitz, Next Hoops.
Hey, Britney. You've been playing especially well, on the defensive end this year. And, at one point in the game, you were out there with 5 fouls and still locking up. Can you talk a little bit about, being able to impact the game, without scoring, to be able to go out there and leave your mark on the game, without scoring at all,
I think my philosophy with that is just how valuable I can be on the team. And if my role is to lock up and I don't happen to score, then so be it. But I know that I'm much more than just a scorer. I'm much more than a defensive player. I change the game for my team. I bring energy for my team. And whatever they ask me to do, I do it. And these games, what I've done is what they've asked me and more. So I'm here to do it.
Adam Grossbart, LA Daily News.
So first game against the old team, he came out firing pretty hot. Was there any extra motivation in this one?
No, we're trying to win a championship. So it happened to be Atlanta today that we played, and we're on to the next one.
Chris Camello.
Hey, Brittany, impressive win. How important is a game like this? You guys have had a lot of blowouts lately. How important is playing a close game like this in overtime and really testing how you could perform under pressure?
Yeah, we talked about it, literally right when we walked in the locker room. Chelsea got us together, we listened, and we basically just talked about that being a playoff type of game, that type of adversity, the way we bounced back, the missed assignments we had in the game. That's the type of adversity that we're going to see when we're trying to win a championship and when we get to those playoffs. But like I said before, we got to handle every single game one at a time, and we got to take care of business like we did today in any situation we come into.
Last question, John W. Davis.
Hey, what's going on, Sasson Sykes?
What's up?
What's up? So what I wanted to talk to you about is, what is it like out there when you're closing out a game like this? You're trying to get back in it and tie it up to take it to overtime, and your defensive partner out there is TRP. What did you see from her that you liked?
The last part, what'd you say?
What did you see from your defensive partner out there during the stretch, TRP?
Well, she do what she always do. She's, she's our anchor when it comes to that defense. And, I just happen to be tagging along with her. I like that they had, both of us on the floor together, because now people really not going to score, because TRP has that defense and so do I. And we was locking them up, and we came up with that win.
Congrats. Thank you.
Thanks, E.
Have a good evening. All right, questions for Candace Parker. We'll start with John W. Davis.
Hey, what's up, Candace? How you doing?
Good.
Good. So in year 13, what would it mean to Candace Parker if she was to win Defensive Player of the Year?
Wow. I don't know. I think that might be above the 2 I got at home, honestly. Better late than never, I guess. For me, I think I know what this team's capable of, and I know we have to do. And I think it's fun to play on the defensive end.
Chukni New in LA Times.
To follow up on that, you got 2 big awards at home. Why would this one be more significant to you? And also, can you kind of talk us through that charge? And it seemed like you were pretty fired up about that play at that time.
I don't know. I just think if I started my career and somebody said Defensive Player of the Year in Candace Parker, it would have been on the opposite side of the spectrum. So I like doing things that people say I can't do. So I think that's why it would be on the top shelf. And then secondly, I try to get 1 charge a year. And that was it. So I was happy that, I was able to get there, and I was really excited. So that my teammates know that every time I get a charge every year, I get that hype.
David Yapkowitz, Next Hoops.
Hey, Candace. I know a few weeks ago you talked about, the importance of rebounding and how, the team was getting out rebounded each night, and how you kind of taken that upon yourself, to be the difference there. And now you're, I think, leading the league in rebounds. How have you seen, the improvement there in terms of rebounding, and how important is it to continue to keep that up?
Well, I think when we're able to rebound and get out into that secondary break, we're at our best. And so a lot of it is, offense definitely affects defense, and defense affects offense, but rebounding really changes the game, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. So, I think you guys remember we won a championship off a rebound. So we realized, in the words of Pat Summitt, offense sells tickets, defense wins games, rebounding wins championships. And we definitely have to get better on that end, but we're showing improvements.
Last question for the night, Chris Camello.
Candace, impressive win, 6 in a row. How important is it to play games like this? I mean, you guys have had a pretty nice string of blowouts and not really being tested. Tonight was obviously a major test going into overtime. How important is that, especially if you guys have championship aspirations?
I mean, I think it's important, but it's also important to address why. I think my biggest takeaway from the times we've been successful in the seasons we've won championships, both in college as well as in the pros, we're able to fix and adjust things while winning. It doesn't take a terrible showing or a loss to really understand that we need to address and get better. And honestly, our second halves, we have to get better. This is the 2nd game in a row that we've lost the second half. I think almost the 3rd game. Our Indiana second half wasn't the greatest either. So we have to do a better job of coming out in the locker room in the 3rd quarter and maybe doing something different, but we can't have that same energy coming out of halftime.
Thank you, Candace.